Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Accounting Educator. I'm Safir Ahmed, a senior lecturer in accounting and finance in a UK university. I also work with ACCA as an early career ambassador. This video is relevant if you are currently studying business awareness, AAT Level 3. In this video, I will be going over the task, communicating information with the stakeholders or communicating information to stakeholders. And as part of this task that they're going to give you some graphs, some tables, some information, some data. And what you need to do, you need to analyze the performance of the business in a given scenario. I have selected this task, which is from Osborne Tutor Zone Chapter Activities, and which is 10.8. So this is a typical format of the information that they're going to give you in this task. And so they will give you information about the company or the business, which could be partnership or could be a sole trader, and some important information that which you need to take into consideration when you will be analyzing the information alongside the other data in the form of graphs or tables. So if I scroll down, you will be able to see the graphs and the tables, the information given to you, as you can see here. And then they give you normally a couple of parts as part of the requirement. So the first one here, you can see discuss the performance of the business over the last 3 months. So they're giving you 3 months data. Now, what I will suggest in the beginning of answering this question, what you need to do, you need to kind of skim the information that which could be relevant for your analysis, for your discussion. So first of all, they're giving you date, which is 8th of September, 2022. They're telling you this is the current date that when you are analyzing or when you are discussing this performance of this business. So that's important because that means that they would have given you data for the past 3 months anyway. And then the way you work, so they are giving you that scenario that puts yourself in that situation that you're working for this organization, so which is Bryant and Bray, a small firm of tax advisors. So the two partners who are both qualified accountants, okay. The business employs 2 more qualified accountants, 3 part qualified accountants, and 2 trainees. So it's a small, of course, firm, tax advisors firm. And this information, the third bullet point here, is quite important because you will be able to see any trend due to this information as well as part of your analysis, as part of your discussion. So having always focused on the personal tax clients for both self-assessment and VAT, in May, the business decided to have a big marketing campaign in June to attract more corporate clients, company clients, basically. Unfortunately, due to the technical issues with the marketing company the business was using, this marketing did not happen until July. Now, you need to kind of make a note of that this campaign was implemented or executed in July. So which means that you might see a trend or you might see an improvement in the revenue from the corporate clients, perhaps in July as well as August. So you will see to some extent in July, perhaps, and probably the impact of that marketing campaign will be in the month of August. So you need to make a note of that. And then personal clients need help in June to ensure that their half-yearly payment on account are made correctly. So they're giving you information about personal clients as well. So you might see huge sort of revenue from the personal clients in June. So again, we will see in the data that what's the situation there. Okay, and many clients have VAT quotas that end on 31st of May. So if the VAT quotas end on 31st of May, their VAT returns will be due on 7th of June. So again, another indicator that in June that revenue might be higher due to this fact, because the next quota, then it will be end of August, and the impact of that will be in the month of September. Okay, so at the end of July, the business recruited an additional corporate tax specialist. Now, due to this fact, again, there might be increased revenue in August or to some extent in July as well. So we will have a look into the data, and in line with all of these important information, this important information, we will be analyzing it, we will be discussing it. So let's have a look at the data which is presented to us in the form of graphs and tables. Now you can see here, the first one, which is they're given you revenue, a breakdown of revenue from personal and corporate clients. So if you look at the June one, the personal client revenue was way higher than the corporate clients. And again, if you look at that information, remember the marketing campaign that originally they wanted to do in month of May did not happen. So therefore, you can clearly see the corporate clients revenue is lower as compared to the personal client. If you look at the July, similar sort of trend there as well. But if you look at in August there, now 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 7 in from the corporate clients. So this could be effect of the marketing campaign that which happened in the month of July eventually. So the impact of that you can see in August. And it could also be that recruitment of an additional corporate tax specialist individual as well. So it could be due to that reason. Okay. Now, so just talking about it as yet, but I will tell you how you should be structuring your answer as well in a minute. And then you can see the revenue, overall revenue being given to you as compared to the budgets or budgeted revenue for each month. So you can see that in the month of June, budget was 224 and the actual revenue was 242,240. And then in the month of July, you can see that the actual revenue was less than the budgeted one. In the month of August, the actual revenue was again lower than the budgeted revenue. So when you structure an answer, and when you structure your answer, what you need to do, first of all, you can talk about revenue in each of these 3 months. And then we're going to talk about some other things as well, so which I will let you know in a minute. So if you think about in the month of June, you can write, well, in June 2022, the actual revenue was more than budgeted. Or you can fairly say over than budgeted, or more than, or excess than budget, whatever words you choose there. By now, you can calculate the percentage here. So if you look at the budgeted revenue was 224,000 and the actual was 242,240. Now remember, the difference between those two divided by the original budget times by 100 will give you the percentage. Obviously, as part of your answer, you are not going to write that how you calculated it, but all you're going to write there is the percentage there. So what you need to do, 242,240 minus 224,000, which gives you 18,240, and divided by budgeted amount, which is 224,000. and times by 100. So that will give you the percentage that it was higher than the budgeted one. So which gives you 8.142, something like that. So you can say approximately 8%. So in other words, what you're writing here is in June 2022, the actual revenue was more than budgeted by approximately 8%. So which means that the firm has performed well overall. And what you can do, so you talked about the overall revenue as compared to budget, which was in your second graph here, the revenue from June to August. And you can see that the orange line, thick line, is the actual revenue. And then the broken blue line there in the graph, that was budgeted one. Now you're going to talk about revenue in the June in terms of how much the firm has generated from the personal clients and how much from the corporate clients. Okay. Now the total revenue, as you know, the total actual revenue was 242,240. Now, if you think about how much of this was generated from the personal clients, so you can say that higher revenue generated from the personal clients as compared to corporate clients. And you can write that is in terms of percentage as well. Again, you can do the calculation. So in terms of the personal, from the personal clients, the revenue generated was 142,922 divided by the total revenue of that month, which is 242,240. And if you times it by 100, it's going to give you the percentage of the revenue which was generated from the personal clients. So 142,922 divided by 242,240 times by 100, which gives you 59%. So you can clearly see that 59% of the revenue was generated from personal clients, and then remaining 41% revenue was generated from the corporate clients. Now, why that happened? Again, if you look at the information when they said the marketing campaign about corporate clients or for corporate clients has been delayed from May to July. So you can see, you can say that why this happened. So you can say that the revenue from corporate clients was 41%. This could be due to the fact that the corporate marketing campaign was delayed until July. So again, you are kind of talking about the reasoning behind it, what could be the possible reasons behind it. Now, you already talked about the June, for the month of June. So now you're going to talk about the month of July and then August. So if you look at the month of July, that it was slightly under budget. It was slightly lower than budget or budgeted revenue. So you can see the budgeted revenue was 210,500, whereas the actual revenue was 199,214. So you can say here in July, the actual revenue was slightly lower than budget. And if you want to write the percentage, again, you can calculate the percentage as well. So the difference between the actual and budgeted was, so you can see 210, 500, which was budget, minus 199, 214, which is 11,286, divided by the budgeted amount, and the budgeted amount was 210, 500. And if you times it by 100, that's going to give you the percentage. So 11,286 divided by 210, 500 times by 100, which you can see is 5%, 5.36%. So we can say approximately 5%. Okay, now you're going to talk about, again, you're going to look into the breakdown of the revenue from the personal clients and the corporate clients. Okay. So again, the revenue from personal clients is higher than the revenue from corporate clients. And you can calculate again percentages. So that is, if you look at the total revenue in the month of July, which is 199,214, and you can see that out of this 105,583 was consisted of personal clients or was generated from personal clients. So 105,583 divided by the total revenue, actual revenue, which was 199,214 times by 100. So you can see the 53% from personal clients, and of course the remaining 47% from corporate clients. Having said that, if you look at the personal client revenue, so in the month of June, it was 142,922, and now it is 105,583. So you can say, however, the overall revenue from personal clients has reduced or decreased by, so again, you can calculate the percentage here. So how? So you can see the difference between revenue in the month of June, so which is 142,922 minus from personal clients, of course, and then revenue from personal clients in the month of July, so which is 105,583, which gives you 37,339, and divided by the total, divided by the total in June, basically. So which was, remember, 142,922, and if you times it by 100, so that's going to give you the percentage by which it has decreased. So which is 37,339 divided by 142,922 times by 100, which is 26%, which is massive. Now, why that would happen? So again, we can kind of speculate about it in line with the information given to us. So we can say that in the month of July, the focus of the firm seems to be on corporate clients. How do we know that? As a corporate tax specialist was recruited So you can clearly see when the focus shift from one area to another area, the performance can decline in that area. So again, what you done here, you talked about the revenue in the month of July as compared to the budget. And then you talked about the breakdown of the revenue in the month of July from the personal clients as well as from the corporate clients as well. Okay, and also another reason that the budget was, the actual revenue in the month of June was higher. In this case, the overall higher revenue generated from the personal clients, not the first one. The actual revenue was more than budgeted by this much. You can add here, this could be due to the fact that the firm's clients VAT quota ended on 31st of May. So which means that remember that the due date would have been 7th of June, and then they would have made the payments basically. Okay. So we talked about the month of July. Now let's talk about the month of August. So again, in August, look at the actual revenue and the budgeted revenue. So the actual revenue was 220,637, and the budgeted was 243,000 or 243,000. So in August 2022, the actual revenue was significantly. So those kind of wordings are important as well. Remember, I used the word slightly in the month of July because it was only like 5%, but in this case, it will be probably more than that. So the actual revenue was significantly lower than budget. And you can write here that is the percentage. So the percentage, again, the wording, you can choose your own one as long as it's clear enough to the reader, is clear enough for the examiner, so the examiner can understand what you are trying to say here. Okay. Okay, so how much was the difference? So the difference between budgeted revenue or budget and the actual revenue. So the budget was 243,000 minus actual, which is 220,637, which gives you 22,363 divided by budget, which is 243,000, and times by 100. Please do not show this calculation in your actual answer in exam. Just write the percentage there. So you can see it's 9.20%. So nearly 9%, which is of course a significant amount. Now, if you look at the breakdown of the revenue in the month of August, you can clearly see that the revenue from corporate clients is way more than the personal clients. So you can see that shift as well now. So you can say the revenue from corporate clients was, so what was the percentage of the total revenue in that month? So you can calculate the percentage again. So which is, you can see 123,557. So that's from the corporate clients divided by total revenue, which was 220,637 times by 100. So that's going to give you the percentage of the revenue from the corporate clients. which is 56%. So the revenue from corporate clients in August, of course, was 56% and 44% revenue was generated from personal clients. This could be due to the fact that the marketing campaign for corporate clients so the marketing campaign for the corporate client was implemented in July. So of course, the effect of that is going to be in the month of August and perhaps going forward as well. Also, this could be due to recruitment of corporate tax specialist in July, as it would have attracted more corporate clients. So you can clearly see. So you talked about the revenue for all of those 3 months. Now, if you look at some of the other information as well, so if you look at the expenses, so they're giving you expenses for the month of August, and they also given you information about cash. They also given you information about profit and loss. Okay, so if you look at the revenue in total, in the month of June was 242,240. And now if you look in the August, it's 220,637. So the overall revenue has kind of decreased, although that improvement from the month of July, but still is lower than the June. So you can say, and also in terms of the personal clients revenue has decreased further in the month of August. So what you can write here, that despite the reduction in revenue from personal clients, from July, the firm has made profits of. So again, that information is given to you. You can see that they're giving you total expenses and total revenue, profit or loss. So you can see there. So the difference between revenue and expenses will be the profit, of course. So which is 220,637 minus expenses 153,784, which gives you 66,853. Profits of 66,853. So the overall, still they were profitable, if that makes sense. So you wrote a sentence about that. And then you can write a sentence about cash balance as well. So the cash balance has decreased, or you can say that the overall cash balance, cash position, you can use that word as well, has declined from the month of July by 53,000, which they given you that information. However, the firm is still in a stable cash position of, which is 92,502. So in other words, that 92,502. So in other words, in the month of July, it was 92,502 plus 53,256, so which makes it about 140 something. But in the month of August, you can clearly see that that has declined. Having said that, still is quite huge amount positive cash balance. So still not too bad. So we should not be worried about too much about that. That's that. Now, if you look at the expenses, professional staff cost is 81,506, and which is common because remember in accounting and especially the taxation services firms that those staff are well skilled, specialist knowledge, all of that, that their cost is going to be high. That's the kind of main cost for any accountancy firm. Building cost, you can fairly say that that's okay as well. That looks okay. Sales and marketing cost, we can see that 16,916, and again, that's in line with the industry averages as well. Normally in this sort of business, administration expenses, which is 15,378, that's understandable as well. The stationery side of things and all of the other office stationery expenses, because again, it's in relation to all of the clients that the stationery that firms need anyway. Materials, you can see is very small portion as well there. But if you look at the travel cost, now what kind of travel cost for a tax advisory firm? Do they really deliver anything? So what kind of cost? How, unless if they visit client all the time, as compared to the client coming to them, that's different. So in other words, that needs to be investigated. We are not sure. So you can see that, and in terms of the expenses, you can say that all other expenses seem reasonable. It seems reasonable for the industry, or rather than for the industry, according to the industry. However, travel costs of 12,303 represent, now you can calculate the percentage here, so which is 12,303 divided by total expenses, which is given to you 153,784, and then times by 100. Which is 8%. Seems high, and therefore should be investigated. Okay, you see that the way I structured this answer is I talked about the revenue for each of the month, and also I talked about the breakdown of the revenue as well from personal clients and the corporate clients. And then I talked about the cash balance. They're giving you that information. I talked about the profit and loss as well. They're giving you that information. So from that, of course. And I talked about the expenses. So always look for any unusual stuff, especially when it comes to expenses, that if something doesn't make sense in line with the industry that this business is operating in. So of course, they can give you from any industry. It could be travel and tourism, it could be IT. So you need to have that basic sort of knowledge and common sense, using common sense as well. So the more practice you will The more practice, the more question practice you will do, the more questions you will practice, the better you will get in this area. Okay, so that should be the answer for part A, which was the discussion of the performance of the business over these 3 months. Now, part B of this question, let's have a look. Identify any positive trends that may be likely to continue for the remainder of the year. Now, if you think about it, that one trend that the corporate clients revenue probably is going to continue growing because of the marketing campaign and because of the additional corporate tax specialist staff recruited. The revenue from corporate clients seem to grow in coming months due to marketing campaign in July and the recruitment of specialist. Corporate specialist, corporate tax specialist. So that's one trend. What else it can be? Let's have a look. Yes, the second trend, because remember that the VAT quarter ended was for a lot of client was 31st of May. So the next quarter will be ending on 31st of August. So what does that mean? That the revenue from the VAT returns, which is from the personal clients in this case, will grow as well or will be higher. The revenue from VAT rather than personal or corporate, because remember that VAT registered businesses can be companies as well, corporates, or it can be sole traders and partnerships as well. So the revenue from VAT is expected to be higher in the month of October due to VAT quarter ending 31st of August. Now there can be more. So it depends on the number of marks offered to you. So when you are writing these kind of answers, you need to keep an eye on that as well. So there is no point to go on and on about stuff that if the marks are lower. So they have not given you marks here, but I would think the marks for the first part should be about 10 to 12 marks, something like that. And then the second part should be about 2 to 4 marks, something like that. So I hope that this was helpful. I will be making some more videos in this area because I do know that a lot of students normally tend to struggle. Either they're not sure about how to structure their answer or where to start from, how to um, how to how to skim this information presented to you, how to see this information presented to you as well. So I will be making a couple of more videos from AAT practice assessment tasks as well. But this was a little bit more basic as compared to the AAT assessment. So I thought just to start with, I will start with this task. And then, of course, I will be making a couple of more videos from the AAT practice assessment in this area. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And I will see you in another video. Bye for now.